Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to class. So we're on week 4 already. Hard to believe we're cruising through that quickly. So, of course, at the end of this week, we'll be halfway. And as you know from looking at the syllabus, we switch gears this week and move away from the more technical, clinical pieces of the Capstone experience over to something that I feel like is probably even more so important for us, and certainly is one of my most favorite parts of this course, is to talk about the socially determined factors of health. And so collectively, as you I think are aware by now, social determinants of health has been a big topic that rightfully so has been addressed in many ways over the last several years, at least from an attention side, for us to move away from the perspective of thinking that health is just about us going to a provider within the system when we're sick, and then getting the necessary means through our conventional medicine to get the right medicines or therapies, surgery, or whatever that case is, and it stops there. Hopefully that you at least can understand from your own life perspectives that health is much broader than that. And one of the things that I feel like is really important in this program from the beginning, but hopefully threaded throughout, is that you got a perspective of the breadth of health. And that, is I always like to say, as far as you can stretch your arms out is everything that's included in health, which is pretty much everything. Everything in some way has an effect or related back to your health, if you define health in the broadest sense of the term. So this week anyway, we start looking at those factors that are socially related. One of the readings for today is really a rereading for you. We talked about this way early on, and maybe one of the first courses you took in advanced lifestyle medicine, when we started addressing the social determinants of health. And we looked at some work that the University of Wisconsin has been doing over the last many years. It's called County Health Rankings. And it looks at almost every county in the United States and compares in some ways, but mostly calculates what the health of the county is in several different measurements. And as we've talked about this, there are really big buckets that go into what determines people's health. And I don't think this is all inclusive either in how the county health rankings go, but it does broaden our scope of what health is. And so one of those big buckets is clinical care. And interestingly, it makes up not the majority of it. So the majority of factors that determine health, according to county health rankings, and really, to be fair, lots of other similar data sets, are the social factors, those that are related to our relationships with others, our relationship with our community. And so they mostly group social and economic into one. Really, they're separate, but at least from their data sets, it's one big chunk. And that makes up nearly half, so 40+%. But then the other major factor that sits next to it is a 30+%, are our lifestyle behaviors. And so, of course, that is where we spend a lot of our time in this program. But the two of those together make up 70+%, probably 75 to 80%. And I'm giving round numbers on this because it depends on what data set you're looking at. Of what determines someone's health. So if you go to, I used to say go to the shopping mall, but nobody does that anymore. But okay, go to the grocery store and you just, sit down at the entrance and you watch people walk in, and you just, based on what they look like, or maybe go into the pharmacy, you just say, hey, this person's healthy, this one's unhealthy, this one's healthy, that one's healthy, this one's unhealthy, that one's unhealthy. You can't really do that, right? Because you don't know all of the factors that goes into someone's health. And certainly we know a lot more now than what we did even 30 years ago about what contributes to an individual's health. But so those are the two biggest buckets, the social and economic, and the personal health behavior. And then you have the clinical care side. So our healthcare system, which makes up somewhere around 15% or so, probably at best. I've seen up to 16%, maybe 18%. But more realistically, probably a little less than 15% of what determines someone's health is our healthcare system. And I think a little qualification for that, I think, would be necessary, because our healthcare system, even though we use the word health, as many people have said, is really not set up to help people achieve the best health that they can. It is to help people when they're sick and when they're ill or injured, and that's the way our system is set up. And we do a really good job at that part of our system. If we would just wrap our heads around naming it something different, people call it the sick care system, but I'm not sure that I really like that term. But if we had a perspective to say, okay, this is what the system was set up to do, and this is what it actually does, our metrics would be outstanding, right? I mean, we do a great job at helping to help people feel better when they don't feel well. But we don't do so well at this broadest sense of term of what health is inside that system. It was never set up to do it. So it's really an unfair comparison, and we get very critical, and me being included in that royal we, very critical about the healthcare system, that it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Well, it's never supposed to do this broadest sense of what health is. That's a relatively new piece that people have tried to work into the healthcare system, and make it all kind of cohesively work together. And we struggle with that, right? I mean, we know we struggle with that, trying to work in these prevention pieces, this social determinants of health pieces, this community collaboratives that we do. It's hard to work it into the system because it was never set up like that, and it was never designed to function in that way. It was never designed to pay out or reimburse in that way. So the economic model of our healthcare system was never designed to address this, health. It was designed to address this, being sick or ill or not feeling well or being injured. So now we're trying to fit all of these things into this already very busy and compacted system. We're trying to jam more into it with all of these other definitions of what health means, including things like health coaching. And so the system has to make room for that. And I think maybe the best news that I've heard in a very long time was just this week. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid announced that they're going to start reimbursing on a temporary basis, but reimbursing health coaching in a telehealth format starting in 2024. So they expanded their telehealth offerings and reimbursements, and they're going to try it for a year and see how it goes. This is incredibly exciting for us who work in this space to have somebody like the CMS latch on to this, and so they're making room, right? I mean, we're trying to push things aside to fit in health coaching and see if we've got money to pay for that, and if it's going to have some benefit to it. Hopefully it'll last longer than a year, because we all know that it's tough to see significant changes in a year, but certainly not impossible by any means. But hopefully the logistics of it go well, and we're pretty excited about it on our end. Anyway, we're going to start billing for that straight away in January from our program. As you know, Dr. Casamano and Dr. Bautista are both in the clinic across the street from campus, in the CHI University Clinic. mostly working with patients who have hypertension inside the family medicine department that we're in. So they're working in collaborative with family medicine, family and community medicine providers to offer health coaching to patients with hypertension. And so they'll be able to start billing for that in January, and so we can have some experience and be part of that and be ready to roll for that. That is really exciting. So I mean, my point in this is to say, back to this discussion about what health means and what our system was really set up to do, is doing a good job with that. But then now we're recognizing that that's not what health is all about. It's much bigger than just saying, I don't have a chronic disease like high blood pressure. I have high blood pressure, but it's under control. Is that good enough for health? And I think most people would say that's not. There's more to it than that. So the four big buckets of the social and economic, which makes up the biggest chunk, and then personal health behaviors, which makes up the next biggest chunk, and then a much smaller chunk would be our system itself, our healthcare system. So clinical care is that chunk. And then the smaller of the chunks, the other buckets, I guess, if you will, is the built environment. So what does it look like? Do we have enough sidewalks? Are our neighborhoods safe? Do we design buildings so that we can be more physically active, like making the stairs a more prominent feature so that people will want to take the stairs rather than the elevator, those kinds of things. The built environment makes up about 8 to 10% of the factors that determine health. And so that's another side of health that there's some great work going on, and being very purposeful in how you build communities to have parks and amenities that help people become more physically active, making sure that we are designing communities so that we don't have food deserts, and so that food insecurity isn't as primary of an issue. So access is one part of it. And certainly, as I mentioned, sidewalks, having just simple things like making sure street lights are replaced when they are burned out. Those are things are remarkably challenging in some neighborhoods and remarkably not challenging and easy in other neighborhoods, as you can imagine that more affluent and less affluent communities have varying challenges that way. So these are the kinds of things that I think are important for us to work through relative to integrative health and wellness, because gone are the days where we would say, okay, so you sit down with someone, or you're working with an individual who has a list of chronic conditions, and maybe you come to some agreement and conclusions that increasing physical activity and eating more fruits and vegetables, for instance, might be the right way forward. But gone are the days where you would say, okay, now go away and do those things, go to the grocery store and buy more fruits and vegetables, or go home and, do your physical activity, exercise, whatever. We need to be more thoughtful about that, because that's not, the rate limiting step for most people is something much beyond understanding that, oh, geez, I didn't know exercise was good for me. I used to say to my students a long time ago that you'd be hard pressed to find people who smoke in the United States that don't know smoking is bad for you. But there's a reason they're still smoking, and that's what you need to get to. Same goes for eating, same goes for exercising, same goes for sleeping or any other addictive behavior. Same goes for having right relationships, positive, healthy relationships. Same goes for doing purposeful work and having a good work environment. All of those factors that are really important that we talk with people about, we need to start pulling back, the layers to be able to uncover what is the cause here, and can we work out the barriers that are standing in the way? Because most people, if they're coming to see you, they have a desire. There's a genuine intention to become healthier, and so that would be then our job. If you discover that you have an inkling of intentionality to become healthier, then that's our space to start working in, and then we can make those gaps bigger, and hopefully can uncover some of these barriers that are in the way, and help them work through that. So education is important, but it's not the only piece of it, as everyone hopefully knows by now. So getting back to the topic at hand, this is the reason why looking at social factors that determine health is really important, because every person has a different list of factors. And as I used to say when I was regularly just doing health coaching for the most part, I would say, well, let's talk about all the things that are getting in the way of you potentially not buying the foods or eating the foods or having access to the foods, or same for exercise or sleeping or whatever. And so that's where the real conversation or real work can start to happen. But it's important for you to know that there are an almost unlimited number of factors that can be affecting people's ability to be successful with an exercise program or eating healthy and so forth. And that's what we're hoping to get. At least I'm hoping we can move towards that space with the next few weeks of this course. And certainly there are many other topics that we cover or could cover relative to determinants of health. There's an undergraduate class that I teach. In fact, I'm teaching it right now, called Determinants of Health. But we even go broader than what we just talked about. So we talk about all the stuff that we just talked about, but then we also pack on some things like I have them read this little booklet called Tyranny of the Urgent. And it is really a bit of a social commentary, but also an awareness piece about how we have a difficult time differentiating what is urgent and what is important in our lives, because our social pressures make us feel like everything is urgent. And in fact, we oftentimes will move towards doing things, spending our time on this urgency and ignoring the things that are important. Because oftentimes they can wait, and so, or we at least perceive that they can wait because we have the pressures to cover the urgent first. So that's a great topic that affects health, no doubt. So that's a determinant of health because it directly leads to stress. We cover purpose, and we cover topics so like personal purpose, or what is yours to do in life. It's a great topic for undergraduate students, but also graduate students. I think anybody at any age, but certainly someone who is 18 to 22-year-old, that's a great topic. We talk about imperfection being a goal rather than perfection. There's some really good pieces to go with on things like that. So anyway, so those, if you want to really broaden what are the factors, if you include all of the factors that would determine health, boy, the list is really long. And so one of the exercises I used to do with my students was we would do it on the first one of the first couple of days of class is let's write down all the things that you feel like affect your health. And rarely would someone say on there going to see my doctor is a factor. It was more so about social pressures and socially related factors. So anyway, if we really want to expand, and we don't get into that in this class, there's just not enough space to do it here. But I wanted to just talk about that for just a brief minute, just so that you know, and bring awareness to the many other factors that could be included here. So anyway, so for week 4, social determinants of health and integrative health and wellness is the topic. And what we hope to do here is to look at economic, social, and built environments. We're going to then look at a couple of the videos, the first 2 episodes anyway of Unnatural Causes. Love this video series. And read the county health rankings. And then we're also continuing our work with Lowney, which I haven't talked much about, but we will as we get down the road here. So So then the assignment for this week would be the discussion forum, the video first, and then the follow-up written. and so those are that's on the agenda for this week, and I hope, and I'm sure we will have a nice lively discussion about this topic on the discussion board, and I'm looking forward to reading that. So if you have any questions, just reach out and let me know. But otherwise, have a good week, and I'll send another video in week 5.